You have heard what City Hall is planning lately with the Civil City program, project.
Yeah.
And how do you like that project? Is it something that is going to bring some benefit to the poor people in Vancouver?
Well, Project Civil Society, I kind of wonder about. I mean, it's a plan that has no details. I mean, the mayor, Sam Sullivan, and Kim Kukri put it together, and they talk about they're going to clean up homelessness, they're going to clean up drug addiction, they're going to clean up mental illness in Vancouver with this revolutionary new plan. However, when you ask them about the plan, they shy away from giving you any details. So, for example, all we can gather so far is that they're looking at some sort of drug maintenance program, but they're not willing to tell us what drugs they're going to replace the street drugs with. We have no idea whether or not or how people are going to be followed up. We have no idea how the prescription or dispensing of the drugs are going to be done. And, it's very short on details. And so that worries me as sort of as a mental health person. You're going to embark on this large-scale process around the city without any ideas. We don't have any idea what he plans to do. And I doubt it's going to do anything.
There's about 54 specific decisions what this project is going to do. You don't think those 54 specific points are not specific enough?
Well, I don't know if it's specific enough. We don't know how they're going to roll out and how they mesh together. I mean, when I read the Project Civil City documents, and I read the Sun article and many other papers, and talking to a lot of colleagues who do work in mental health and community health, nobody's quite sure how it goes together. For example, first of all, the Project Civil Society sort of blames 700 people who were released from Riverview, apparently, that are causing all the problems in the city. And what the plan seems to be doing is to have the police almost arrest these folks, put them into the new untried, unknown drug program, and if they don't work, put them into mental institutions afterwards. Now, is that the way to clean up the city?
Yeah, but is that what they're saying, or that's what you're thinking that they're going to do?
That's sort of my interpretation of it, simply because. Now, the reason why I say that is because they're not releasing details, so we don't know how it goes together. They talk about 54 or how many points and benchmarks, but we got to remember some of the things they didn't do, for example, was when we asked them, how bad is the homeless problem in Vancouver? And they voted down a motion to do the basic research to find out how bad the problem is, first of all. We don't know. They're blaming mentally ill and drug addicted people. I've worked with the homeless for a number of years now, and I've worked in drop-in centers for a long time. And they're not the only people who are homeless. There are other people who are homeless, people with minimal brain damage, for example, or the working poor, who are not going to be helped by these types of programs. And, that's the myopic vision of Project Civil Society.
Some of their points, and one of those 54 points apparently is actually housing. And they say that they have some 7 or 10 sites, and they're looking for money from the provincial government to build social housing. You don't think that they are probably addressing, maybe not enough, but they're still trying to address the problem of homelessness and drug addiction?
Absolutely. No, I think, that any initiative to build housing is good. But I suppose as somebody who works on the street with a lot of these folks, or in the field, I guess, is that you can build houses and you can put people in them. But will they stay there? And many of the programs that have been proposed or they're talking about, I mean, let's put it this way. A lot of people think, oh, look, I'll put them in a nice warm place and I'll get them a job and they'll be better. That's not how mental illness works. That's not how drug addiction works. All you're doing is solving a symptom, but you're not solving or addressing the underlying problem or cause.
The question that comes is, how would you solve the problem of homelessness on one hand, and then also on mental illness, which is a different issue? Yeah.
Well, certainly any kind of initiative is helpful, but I think what's missing is that there are some very useful programs that are already in existence in Vancouver. For example, showering and breakfast programs that aren't being funded by the city. Instead, the city will take $300,000 out of the reserve to hire one of their friends or somebody else to set up an office to look at whether or not we're doing a good job. I mean, isn't that $300,000 better spent in existing programs? Now,
so just explain to us a little better of those $300,000. There is a budget from the city hall that provides for homeless people some services, and you're saying that they are diminishing that fund?
Well, there is no direct funds for homelessness that go to some agencies. Quite often we apply for grants, for example, so we get some funds for small projects that go on. Many of the projects for the homeless, for example, at Collingwood Neighborhood House, where I helped establish one, was built on money that we had found in old leftover budgets and things, and we rely on just our basic operating funds, but we get no direct funding for it.
Who is we?
Collingwood Neighborhood House.
You're saying we need a lot more, but you're not dismissing the fact that building social housing will
Absolutely not.
will
More
benefit
social
them.
housing is great, because once we understand them,
Right.
once we know what their problems are, we have to give them some housing. So, I mean, right now, I can go and understand all the problems of each individual homeless person, but if I've got nowhere to put them, we're not doing any better, right? But, you can build the house. What I'm saying is you can build the housing now, but will they stay there?
Would they have to start somewhere? I mean, I hear you saying it's not enough, but building housing, social housing, is one of the answers to the problem of homelessness.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you are giving them points for doing something. They're
I will
not.
give credit where credit is due, and if they're going to build actual social housing, then I'm really for it. Now, what bothers me about some of the plans for social housing, as you very well know, they were going to build, one of the suggestions was dormitories. 10 by 10 rooms. I remember that big protest out in City Hall. Now, and mixing men and women in the same homes. Now, is that right? That's not social housing that's going to work.
Warehousing.
It's warehousing.
Yeah.
Absolutely warehousing. And so that's why I qualify my statements. When they say they're going to build social housing, I want to see how big the suites are. I want to know if they've got a separate washroom. And I want to know if they're safe. Anybody can build a social house, and it can turn into a flop house pretty darn quick.
Okay, so you have some ideas of what the city hall could do with those 10 or 12 sites that they are saying we have the land, and as the provincial government, the one that's not coming up with the money to build, do you have a solution for that? They're saying we have part of the answer. How would you solve that problem? What would be the other side?
Well, I'm not a budget person. So I can't tell you. I mean, it really depends on how serious they are. And it's about choices. And we hear this all the time. And so when I hear, for example, $300,000 of city money from the reserve going to create a new office and a bunch of new bureaucrats, instead of putting that into social housing, I have a problem with that.
Do you think that's wasteful?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
What should they do instead?
Well, right now, I would say that we should use that money and put it towards some of the programs that are working. For example, at the places I work, is that we have one small program, and it's become so popular. We're getting, hundreds of the homeless coming every Saturday that we can't cope with the capacity. We need help. We need food to feed these folks. We need, how can we spread these things out throughout the city, as opposed to creating an office at City Hall?
The city is not contributing to that program?
Not directly, no.
What do you mean not directly?
We get some grants for innovation, for example, so to teach our staff how to deal with people who are angry, for example. So that's sort of a side thing. That's as part of community development, which is great. And I think the city's done a great job recognizing these things. But these are individual grants you apply for. But our actual homeless program, and many of the homeless programs, aren't directly funded.
No. The program of showers is not sponsored by the City Hall? No. Okay, so what I hear you saying is that they're doing something, but they're giving you some grants for some programs, but they're not doing enough to solve the problem. And they are capable, they're economically capable to do better than that.
Well, yeah, I think that there's money available. I think it's misdirected money. I think one of the big issues, and probably why we're having this conversation, is because the city hasn't actually come and said to the people doing the work in the field, what do you want? What do you need? I mean, community consultation, as you know, when they cut the citizens advisory boards, as an example, was one. They don't really come, no one really comes and speaks to us. We have a few people in the city who speak to us all the time, who have come and helped us out, particular individuals, but not as a systematic, proper means to keep this going.
Mayor Sullivan's idea of bringing getting permission from the federal government to go ahead with this program of replacing drugs or alternative drugs to help drug addicts. Do you think that, in spite of not solving the full problem of homelessness, it still would be helpful for drug addicts?
Well, drug replacement programs or substitution programs have had some limited effect say, for example, the methadone clinics. The problem with this plan is we don't know what it's involving. He says it's revolutionary, but he won't give us the details, so I can't comment on something I don't know. I think it's irresponsible to announce a program without giving the program proper peer review. As a biomedical researcher here at the university, that's what I do. I review people's grants. People ask for millions of dollars to do all sorts of different studies or to try different clinical trials, but
You need the details.
you need the details, but they also must be reviewed by people who actually do the stuff and people who have the expertise. Sam Sullivan doesn't have any expertise working with the homeless.
But maybe he has some people from Texas or UK or Australia where these programs have been tried, and maybe they have some results.
Texas is in Canada. The United States system is not Canada. The UK is not Canada. Australia is not Canada. Yes, they are an idea. However, they have to be adapted for the Canadian environment. You know, people talk, I mean, red light districts, for example, they work well in Amsterdam. Will they work well in Canada? Well, it's a good idea to try, or maybe to study the issue. Okay, maybe he's studied the issue. Give him credit. Maybe he's brought his experts from Australia, but he's not telling us who they are. And that's already a problem. And how are they going to adapt those programs used in the UK, in Australia, Germany, and Holland for Canada? I'd like to know, is because what disturbs me the most is that he says, I read in the paper the other day, it says, I am revising my program to meet political realities, not health realities. So what's this program for? Political gain or to actually help somebody's health? And it's not clear. I kind of wonder, is this plan just another way of finding an excuse to put people into institutions, to get them off the street and into institutions in Port Coquitlam in time for the Olympics? I mean, he talks about reopening Riverview, opening beds at Riverview.
What's wrong with that?
Well, you put people into institutions when they are a danger to themselves and to others. But there's very clear.
A few of them maybe.
Absolutely. There are some that should be hospitalized, and they are. I mean, they're hospitalized here at UBC. They're hospitalized at VGH. But I think the criteria for committing somebody in an institution has to be very clear. It is very clear from provincial rules. But to just flippantly say, I'm going to, here's an idea, let's put them into institutions. And when he talks about it in the context of the Olympics, wouldn't it be nice to have them away in time for the Olympics? Makes me wonder again, is it political realities or is it health realities? I'm a health guy. I'm worried about this guy getting better. He's worried about how the streets are going to look.
So you're questioning the intention of this project, whether it's to help people or help their political...
Absolutely.
I see.
To give him credit, I'll be fair. I mean, I'm a fair guy, and when I see the details, then maybe my opinions will change. But why I raise this now is because there are no details. Yeah. He alludes to them.
But a lot of us criticize the government when they closed the Riverview Hospital, because a lot of those people, mentally ill, were in the streets and they didn't have a place to go, so they were some of the homeless people. Yep. So wouldn't we give credit to somebody who says, let's reopen it and put maybe not everyone but throw them like in jail, but just those who need have this place available to go rather than sleeping in the park?
Yeah, I'd like to know why somebody was committed, first of all. I mean, it's important to know the reasons for it. You just can't put them into any institution, whether it be in the community or in Riverview or wherever it may be, without knowing that the place they're going is going to get them some help. Okay, that's what I question. Is this just a way of getting them off the streets so it looks good for the media when they come for the Olympics? Or are we going to actually provide those services that they need to get better, wherever they may be? And,
you have any intention of bringing your expertise and your enthusiasm to the city council and next election, maybe run for city councillor?
Oh, I don't know if I'll run. I mean, people talk about that, that I should do that. But, I'm interested in doing what's right for the community. And whether it's in City Hall or on the street where I am now, I'll make that decision when the time comes.
You're saying that the present government and the City Hall is not doing enough. And you have perhaps some ideas of doing it better. So why not run for office?
Well, the other way I can help, and what I've done, is we're making a request to meet with all the different councillors who are on Project Civil City to provide my expertise. I've not been asked to provide expertise, but certainly us and Think City, for example, I'm part of Think City, we're going to be making requests to meet with each one of the councillors to provide that input.
Now polling.ca is a list of questions, political questions, social issues which are political, and people go there and vote and with different answers, whatever. If the answer is not there, you can even include your own answer. And we have a list of candidates also, municipal, provincial, and federal. And I wonder if you would be interested in going to that website sometime and looking at those questions and participating in it.
Absolutely. I mean, anytime there's an opportunity for discourse and discussion, I'm there. As a professor and as an educator, that's what I do for a living. And but I think I think this is the thing we have to be careful. A web poll is very unscientific. I mean, Sam Sullivan, when he invented, and Kim Capri, when they did Project Civil Society, they based it all on web poll. So that means a whole bunch of people don't get to go see it or make their answers. My mother, for example, has no clue what a computer is. You know, she has an idea, but she doesn't know the internet. So she'll never get her voice heard when you only list it using that method. And that's what the city did. And I think that's what's wrong. If we're going to spend $1.3 million on Project Civil Society, as a health researcher, I know how to do research, I know how to do polling, I know how to do surveys. What they did was wrong. It's very narrow, and it can be easily skewed. And I raised this issue before, but and then even when it was brought to City Council, well, let's do a proper survey to find out how bad homeless is. Sam Sullivan and the NPA caucus voted it down.
So what would be a proper polling or proper survey?
Well, you know, I think here's the interesting thing. Interesting. I read that Sam had gone and hired a polling firm to actually phone households to get a better sample, and the answers he got from his own telephone survey was different from the internet survey. All of a sudden, policing wasn't the issue, but actually dealing with the social programs. So he's put himself in a situation where him and Kim Capri now are at odds. But it demonstrates how poor the methodology they're using is.
There are problems with polling systems, as you know, in the States especially. There's a lot of criticism of computerized polling or counting ballots, because the owners that manage the polling system are usually relatives or friends of the politicians that want them to win. So it can be very biased. And the other problem here in Canada specifically is that the polling systems are paid by either a political party or interest group. And there is a saying that goes, that who pays the piper calls the tune.
That's right.
And then if the polling company wants you to hear whatever you want to hear, they're going to scientifically create that stage to give you that answer, because they know where to call, where to get those samples. And if nobody's checking on it, then obviously they can be biased and distorted. But our poll system is non-profit, is run by a group that is not non-partisan, and we don't get paid. So it's different. So I encourage you to go to the polling system and participate. As you say, there's a problem that not everybody can participate in it. But we're trying to find a solution for it. That's why I was asking you, how would you do it?
That's right. I would actually go and take a look at the website. You know, like I said, it's an opportunity for discourse. And any time people can talk and share ideas, then that's a great thing, and I'm all for it.